Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the one and only, Sonic the Hedgehog here.
And I'm Amy Rose here, and we are back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric. In some cases I hate this game so much, for the Nintendo Wii U, and only for the Wii U. So, last time, we essentially did manage to obtain the 5th Chaos Crystal by exploring the forms of in the next environment, which appears to be by the forms of Slowpoke Isle. And on top of all that stuff though, we also did manage to beat the likes out of Metal Sonic, so everything else checks out there. So today for this video is about the fact that we're going to be continuing things on and move on to the next location. And I think fundamentally speaking though, is about the fact that it's going to take place somewhere in the ocean. So because of this though, yeah, without further ado, let's get this thing to it, shall we? And surprisingly enough though, is about the fact that fundamentally speaking though, Amy.
Oh, what's that, Sonic?
Is about the fact that I'm pretty sure about the fact that when it comes to the forms of the actual specific Chaos Crystals that we somehow obtained, I mean, after all, that like I said before, that we so far have got the 5th Chaos Crystal, so as a result, we've now got 5 Chaos Crystals, so we now got 3 more Chaos Crystals left, and so we basically gathered every single Chaos Crystals throughout the whole entire game. So because of that though, yeah, everything else will become to expect. So anyway, a few things we want to talk about is about the fact that, well, today's date of course there is the 2nd of July today, in some cases in 2024 today, and you probably already noticed about the fact that ever since yesterday, that recently, Ray the Flying Squirrel, he's recently tackling through the next Sonic game. So once again, we're going to be experiencing double the amount of Sonic Let's Plays for now, which one of them we're going to be tackling through right now, which appears to be Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. And as a result so far, that Ray the Flying Squirrel, he's now working on the next Sonic Rush Let's Play. And that's what appears to be none other than Sonic Rush Adventure. And as a result so far, that he's only done one zone so far, because generally speaking, I was about the fact that overall that he did have a fun time with the game so far, and despite the fact that as a result that he'll talk more about the forms of some other aspects during at some point throughout the majority of not only with Mondays, but as well as Wednesdays, alongside with Fridays as well. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that everything else checks out there in regards to the forms of the uploading schedules department. So it's very similar situation as the forms of how it does it in 2020, that back then that we did somehow manage to tackle through Knuckles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, being a part of the forms of the lock-on technology with not only with Sonic and Knuckles,
but as well as the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as well.
Yeah, exactly, Amy. Especially concerning for the fact that also around that time is about the fact that I believe that if I recall correctly, that Piglet did somehow manage to able to tackle through Sonic Events 2, so generally speaking I was about the fact that we can able to actually continue playing through the forms of the rest of the Sonic Events games during the forms within the beginning portion of the 2020s era. So relatively speaking I was about the fact that at least we did somehow manage to able to catch up on a bunch of Sonic Let's Plays, apart from a few exceptions from time to time, which appears to be by the forms of Sonic Shuffle for the Sega Dreamcast, because that's just mainly because no matter what though, we still come across into a stupid random resetting problem with the Sega Dreamcast, and alongside with the forms of the original versions of both Sonic Adventure 1 as well as Sonic Adventure 2, but that's just because of the exact same situation as the forms of Sonic Shuffle. And in addition to that though, there was also the forms of some other obscure Sonic games to be released on the forms of Sega Pico, which appears to be Sonic the Hedgehog's Game World, and there's also Tails and the Music Maker. So yeah, as a result, those two games, I did mention this earlier, they're all basically just educational games basically for younger players. So that's why about the fact that during the forms of in the American version of Sonic the Hedgehog's Game World, the actual game is rated with the forms of EC, stands for earlier childhood. So as a result, yeah, that's as far as I could say about it. So either way though, again I apologize for my commentary, it's a little bit iffy at some form or another, but that's just clearly because no matter what though, I somehow did not make a leaps of faith. So oh well, no big deal. Because besides about the fact that we definitely need to avoid a lot of water here and there, because now we need to deal with a lot of platforming here and there before we move on to the forms of the next section, or specifically the next level, and as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty glad about the fact that we've nearly come towards the end of this game, basically, because as far as I'm aware, again, we were expected to try to able to actually finish this entire game up during the Forms Within by the end of June, but now we're on the 7th month of the year already, so this means about the fact that we're still now on to the second half in terms of 2024 so far. So clearly, no matter what though, is about the fact that hopefully we're able to actually guarantee to able to actually get ourselves the last batch of Nintendo Switch games just before, you know what I'm talking about, with the Forms of Nintendo Switch successors going to be on its way. But I suppose we'll talk more about that in a moment, because for now, we made our way to the entrance to the next level in the game, which, fundamentally speaking now, we are about to be going down into this particular lift. So, either way, let's go in there and let's get the next level started.
This is the place.
I'll go down to get the crystal.
Sonic and I will go get the crystal. Knuckles and Tails, you stay back in case the village is attacked again.
Who put you in charge? I say Tails and I will stay back and protect the village, and you and Sonic take the elevator.
You win this round, Knuckles. Amy, let's go.
Well, Sonic, it looks like it's you and me together enjoying the forms of this level right here.
Because as far as I'm aware, Amy is about the fact that when it comes to both Tails and Knuckles, they're about to be left behind, at least for a while. So, either way, as you can tell on the loading screen, by the way, you can able to actually see the Chaos Crystal that has been protected. So because of that, though, it kind of reminds me of one of those 7 world rings in Journey Forms Within Sonic and the Secret Rings. Well, in terms of design and everything, well, that might be besides the point.
Also, I just realized about something, Sonic. One thing you totally forgot to mention about throughout the majority of the entire playthrough of the game so far, despite the fact that you still don't usually care about the game all that much, which I honestly agree with you on that part, especially concerning for the fact that what the heck is happening to my mouth in this game? It feels like I was actually having a Muppet mouth.
Which, as a result, Amy, though, is about the fact that when it comes to the forms of certain games, back then, either way, especially noticeable for the majority of the forms of certain Wii U games, for the Sonic the Hedgehog games, mostly character mouths are usually in the center, rather than on the forms of either left or right. So generally speaking, though, it's a little bit weird to able to actually try to get used to with the forms of that particular design choices, which that could be also applied to the forms of both Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games, alongside with the forms of Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, and maybe there was actually another instances during the forms of the Nintendo Switch, which appears to be Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. And speaking of which, though, it's about the fact I felt it was a little bit shocking to know about the fact that there was no sign of the forms of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Well, this is clearly because what I can gather that a lot of players seem able to think about the fact that they're getting tired of the forms of the series for now, especially concerning for the fact that not only certain events gets a lot more stale, but it's also about the fact that, well, obviously though, they keep on talking about the fact that they really wish that they were able to actually bring an action-adventure kind of game, or an RPG game for that matter, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Especially because, as far as what she's already mentioned about this, ever since in Journey Forms of the actual finale of Princess Peach Showtime, that yes indeed, we somehow about to be getting ourselves a brand new Mario Party game, specifically Super Mario Party Jamboree, which is basically a sequel to Super Mario Party back in 2018. And as far as what has already mentioned about, quite a few things though actually. Not only does it contain 7 boards ranging from 5 brand new boards, and there's also 2 retro boards coming, and as a result I'm super pumped about it, especially concerning for the fact that as far as what Tiana has already mentioned about this before, this is actually a massive step up from not only Super Mario Party when it comes to board selections, but as well as Mario Party Superstars board selections as well, because generally speaking I was about the fact that when it comes to the forms of some new boards they somehow added in, I really do like the majority of them. Like for instance, there was a board called Rainbow Galleria that usually takes place in a shopping mall, and it does have the actual gimmick where basically at some point throughout the entirety of the board it does have flash sale, which actually stands for the fact that obviously though the gameplay style remains the same as the forms of how it does it on not only Super Mario Party, besides the fact that there's no ally system this time around, which I suppose that's a good thing to keep the game a little bit more balanced rather than unbalanced, unlike the forms of how it does it in Super Mario Party, where sometimes the actual game itself just feels a bit unbalanced, either in Mario Party mode or Partner Party mode, and I have no idea what the heck just happened right there. Like, I can able to actually balance on that specific balancing pulse as Sonic, but there are a few rare occasions where about the fact that this is not what it's supposed to be. So, oh well. Anyway, back into what I was saying about the fact that when it comes to the forms of Rainbow Galleria, not only does it contain the forms of the flash sale mechanic, where basically that was about the fact that, well, I can assure to you it does manage to cut the price of the actual stars cost, because as far as I'm aware, that you're still able to actually collect coins and stars, just like the forms of how it does it since in Mario Party 10 Amiibo Party, despite the fact that the boards in that particular game is so lame, especially concerning for the fact that's the most disappointing aspect when it comes to Mario Party 10, and as far as I'm aware, unlike the forms of how it does it in, let's just say, in the forms of in Super Mario Party, where basically though the star economy only costs about 10 coins throughout the majority of the forms of not only Mario Party mode, but as well as the forms of Partner Party as well. And thankfully though, in Mario Party Superstars did manage to fix the forms of the price economy for the sake of the forms of getting certain stars. Well, usually thankfully though, for the likes of in Super Mario Party Jamboree, also decides able to bring back 20 coins is actually cost for a star. However, with the forms of flash sale has been going on in Rainbow Galleria, that it actually cuts to 50% off, so naturally speaking out, it actually costs 10 coins in one of those instances. So yeah, that's a suffix worth noting for. And as also I really love the forms of other boards as well, ranging from Rollin' Raceway, which is basically it's like a cardboard, and basically those about the fact that you can able to actually race around the track. It kind of reminds me of the forms of minigame circuit from Mario Party 5. However, unlike in that particular mode, where basically though you can now collect coins and stars on that particular board. So that's actually pretty swell to me though. And there's also another board known as Mega Wiggler's Tree Party, where it's pretty self-explanatory board, and it does have its gimmick where basically there's a giant wiggler that's on the center of the board. And I believe if you manage able to land on that event space, similar to the forms of how it does it for not only Mario's Rainbow Castle, but as well as Castaway Bay from Mario Party 6, that basically does about the fact that I believe Mega Wiggler decides to able to move around the board slightly, so you can able to go for a little bit of an island hopping or something. So I think that's as far as I was trying to explain about it. So either way. And there's also the forms of Goomba Lagoon, which is actually a pretty interesting board to me. Not only does it contain multitude of tropical vibes to it, but it's also about the fact that it does manage to contain a gimmick where at some point throughout the turn or something, basically those about the fact you can able to actually walk on the sand and able to actually traverse into the board, or if the actual sea tides decides to come in, basically though you're pretty much stuck around on the island. So because of that though, it kind of reminds me like a similar vibe as well for the likes of Shy Guy's Jungle Jam a little bit from Mario Party 4, except the fact that obviously though, as far as where Tiana has already mentioned about this before, that the board's size in Super Mario Party Jamboree is thankfully a lot more bigger than the forms of how it does it in the original Super Mario Party. And it's also thankfully nowhere near as bad, because obviously though it's not grid based anymore. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good thing, especially concerning for the fact I just seriously cannot wait to able to actually experiencing not only brand new boards, but as well as 2 returning boards here and there as well. So, which I'll explain about the forms of those returning boards in a second, but those technically the forms of the Bowser board is going to make its appearance, which appears to be known as King Bowser's Keep. So yeah, it's been a very long time, hasn't it? Especially considering that about the fact that the last time we've technically got ourselves the Bowser themed board where it says Bowser's name on it, and that's what appears to be Mario Party Island Tour, where it comes to the forms of Bowser's Peculiar Peak or Bowser's Bizarre Volcano for those of you who lived in European countries. So because of that though, yeah, it's been a very long time. Except the fact that unlike in Mario Party Island Tour, where the boards themselves are entirely linear, with its different gimmicks and objectives, so relatively speaking, Amy, is about the fact that I very appreciate they somehow managed to brought back the Bowser themed board, even though technically speaking, it was about the fact that I was originally trying to able to count Mario Party 10 Chaos Castle, despite the fact that Bowser's name isn't even on there. But it usually counts as a Bowser themed board, basically, because of that finale portion of that board that does manage to contain you have to able to dodge Bowser's attacks until you realize about the fact that if you get hit by his fireballs, you lose half of your mini stars, which I'm still very appreciative about the fact that they no longer trying to go back onto the mini stars gimmick, thankfully, because otherwise though, yeah, it'll be a disaster, you know? Especially for the sake of circumstances anyway though, Sonic, it's about the fact that much like the Nintendo 3DS, alongside with the Nintendo 64, that basically though, the majority of the Mario Party games, when it comes to the forms of a certain amount of games, basically though, when it comes to Nintendo 64, that it does have 3 Mario Party games, ranging from Mario Party 1, Mario Party 2, as well as Mario Party 3. Meanwhile, on the Nintendo 3DS also has 3 Mario Party games, but most of them are not perfect, even though there's one decent one, which I'll admit it though right away. But either way, the 3DS do have Mario Party Island Tour, and they also got Mario Party Star Rush, and finally Mario Party The Top 100. And as a result, yeah, they're alright, I guess. Even though the lowest point for me though is the Top 100, because it does have some huge opportunities to able to actually make ourselves a pretty dang good Mario Party game. But as a result, the amount of content is actually rather shallow. And relatively speaking, I was about the fact that I just really wish that they were able to add in more content. And also not to mention though, why is that game on the 3DS? Although, again, thankfully we've got the superior counterpart, which appears to be Mario Party Superstars on the Switch. But that's just clearly because of how the fact that it does manage to contain proper boards, as opposed to the forms of in the Top 100 only has one board with grid-based gameplay mechanic since Star Rush. So, and aside from the fact that there's no allies in that game either. So, anyway, and as far as I'm aware, when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, as you probably already know, that we're about to be getting 3 Mario Party games. So, yeah, that's actually pretty cool and everything. Because obviously the first one is obviously Super Mario Party, the second being Mario Party Superstars, and now the third one in the series, when it comes to the Nintendo Switch library of games for Mario Party, we're getting Super Mario Party Jamboree. So yeah, that's actually pretty cool and everything. And I'm still very happy about the fact that not only does Spike will make its return for its playable characters department, but it's also about the fact that I am super happy about the fact that not only Toad, but also Toad has become playable again after Mario Party Star Rush. So yeah, pretty cool stuff actually, especially concerning for the fact that I'm pretty sure it might be a possibility I can able to actually play as Toad right from the start this time around though. I'm not exactly sure of that about the fact of how the unlockable character system works out. Maybe we'll find out more about it and during at some point until almost about 3 months time, because as far as I'm aware is about the fact that, like I said before, today's date of course is the 2nd of July today, in some cases in 2024 today. And speaking of 24 though, it looks like we've only got about 24 more days to go until the Paris 2024 Summer Olympics is about to begin the opening ceremony stuff. So either way though,
Wow, Sonic. Would you look at that?
Really picturesque, Amy. Let's go.
For once, nothing is chasing us. Just take a minute to soak it in. Okay, let's go.
Phew. Thank you.
Ugh, seriously, I just cannot stand my Muppet mouth. It just looks out of place.
Yeah, either way. So, back into what I was saying about the forms of Super Mario Party Jamboree, and as I mentioned this before, is about the fact that the 2 retro boards is also going to be on its way, and one of those boards is going to be returned ever since in Mario Party 1, and then the other board is actually based off from Mario Party 2, which I was assuming about the fact that those 2 boards in particular is almost inspired by the DLC for Mario Party Superstars. Well, actually, as it turns out, it's about the fact that those 2 boards are only going to be exclusive onto Super Mario Party Jamboree, which I'm fine with. And let's get to the forms of certain boards. They somehow brought it over onto the retro boards department in Super Mario Party Jamboree. For Mario Party 1, they decided to bring back Mario's Rainbow Castle, which I think is actually kind of a cool thing, because what I can gather or something is about the fact I've seen a lot of videos about the fact that, technically speaking now, that someone did a mod for the likes of in Mario Party Superstars that they somehow managed to brought back Mario's Rainbow Castle, but obviously that was about the fact that the actual collusion, especially noticeable with the actual specific stuff, didn't seem to work out, especially concerning for the fact that they obviously reused the actual animations since Yoshi's Tropical Island for the likes of in Mario Party Superstars counterparts. So because of that though, yeah, at the very least it's nice to see Mario's Rainbow Castle in gorgeous HD graphics and all that stuff. Now I'm sure the actual gameplay mechanics might felt exactly like the forms of how it does in the original counterparts, and also much like the forms of how it does it in Mario Party Superstars when it comes to certain boards from Mario Party 1, ranging from Yoshi's Tropical Island all the way up to Princess Peach's birthday cake, I should say. Basically though, they decided to now add it in item shops, because obviously though, we need items just to make things a little bit more interesting. So either way though, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. And as far as I'm aware, the host of Super Mario Party Jamboree this time around though is not only Kamek, but also, since Mario Party 9, as well as Mario Party Island Tour, Yellow Toad is once again going to be the host of the forms of Super Mario Party Jamboree. So, as a result though, this is technically the 3rd time in a row, or technically the 3rd time I should say, that Yellow Toad is going to be the host for the guide of Super Mario Party Jamboree, basically. So because of that though, because obviously the reason why they choose that is because, you know, both Toad and Toadette are finally become playable again ever since, you know, Mario Party Star Rush for the 3DS. So because of that though, yeah, I'm very still happy about that. And anyway, when it comes to the forms of one of those boards in Mario Party 2 will make its return, and that's what appears to be, without a doubt, is probably one of my favorite boards, next to the forms of Horrorland, but obviously Horrorland does already exist now, from the likes of the forms of Mario Party Superstars. And speaking of which, we're about to be getting Western Land from Mario Party 2, which is actually a pretty cool board to me though, especially about the fact that I always love the Western environment when it comes to the forms of that particular board in mind. So anyway, and as far as I'm aware, I don't think it's possible we can able to actually see Bowser Land or Pirate Land, and even with Mystery Land, because as far as I'm aware, I'm still not a big fan of Mystery Land, because you get the idea for this point. Sonic is all about island hopping, isn't it? Yes, exactly, because you know how the fact I absolutely despise that board next to the forms of Wario's Battle Canyon from Mario Party 1. So either way, and as far as I'm aware as well, is about the fact that, as far as what Tiana, she's already mentioned about this already, that of course, Super Mario Party Jamboree will feature a grand total of over 110 minigames, which is quite a lot, even way more larger in comparison to the forms of how it does it in, let's just say, both Mario Party Superstars, alongside with Mario Party The Top 100, as well as Mario Party 7, because as far as I'm aware, Mario Party 7 does manage to feature 88 minigames, which is quite large back in the day. So every nowadays is about the fact that when it comes to the forms of the majority of the newer games throughout the entire series, at least for the majority of the Nintendo Switch department, they are obviously going to be featuring gem-packed full of minigames. So yeah, that's actually pretty cool and everything. And as far as I'm aware, yes indeed, they're able to actually bring back the gameplay mechanic from the likes of the forms of Mario Party Star Rush for one of those side modes, which appears to be similar to Coin Avalon, except now it's going to cause Koopa Avalon. where about the fact that you can able to actually race up against with 20 players, which is insane. And finally, most notably, the release date for Super Mario Party Jamboree. As far as what Tiana, she's already mentioned about this before, that game is going to be releasing until the 17th of October in this year in 2024. And once again, much like the forms of how it does it in not only Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Switch Remake, but as well as the forms of the most recent release at that time, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, it's once again going to be releasing on Thursday. So because of that though, nothing new from this point right here, especially concerning for the fact that we still pretty much used to with the Friday releases as far as I'm aware, but then again though, it takes a bit while to get used to with the newer release date system. So anyways, that pretty much does it for mentioning about the forms of Super Mario Party Jamboree, and I'm basically excited for it. Not only we can able to play as Toad and Toadette again, but it's also about the fact that it's going to be filled to the brim with a lot of content. I'm really hoping for anyway. And also I just realized about the fact that they still haven't mentioned about the forms of the Amiibo system just yet though. But either way though, time will tell, especially concerning for the fact that hopefully we'll hear more about it during at some point until September. So because of that though, everything else checks out there. So I can't even believe about the fact that no matter what though, we're about to be receiving a grand total of 13 console Mario Party games up to this point, especially concerning for the fact that it's obviously a good thing, mind you, because no matter what though, is about the fact that no wonder why, that both Super Mario Party as well as Mario Party Superstars are a massive success when it comes to the forms of the actual sales numbers as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I can agree, especially concerning for the fact that, well, it's a shame about the fact that the original Super Mario Party doesn't allow you to able to play it on the go, well, usually for the lack of the handheld mode. But that's just clearly because no matter what though, the game encourages you to able to use the Joy-Con controllers at all times. So anyway, and speaking of which though, it's about the fact that yes indeed, when it comes to the forms of the controller support for the likes of Super Mario Party Jamboree, that certain motion-controlled games can be only required a Joy-Con controllers, and they are not available while playing on online. So, much like the forms of how it does it on both Super Mario Party as well as Mario Party Superstars, once again the online functionality will make its return. I'm not exactly sure what they're trying to do with the online mode in that particular upcoming game in mind, but then again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. So anyway, and as far as I'm aware, usually the motion-controlled minigames are not compatible with not only the Nintendo Switch Lite, but as well as with the forms of the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. But, luckily though, button-controlled minigames can still be played with either with these consoles or accessories. Specifically, both the Nintendo Switch Lite alongside with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. So at the very least, that's a good thing, especially considering for the fact that if it does lock down behind with the forms of those Joy-Con controllers, then that means about the fact that if the Joy-Con decides to drift, that means we have to pay the ridiculous amount of money again, so that won't be that fun. Yeah, I can agree. So anyway, so that pretty much does it for mentioning about the forms of every single aspect when it comes to Super Mario Party Jamboree. So, and one last thing is about the fact that they are able to actually bring back the majority of the playable characters from not only from Mario Party Superstars, but as well as Super Mario Party as well. But the newest one in the lineup is of course Ninja, ever since in Mario Golf Super Rush. So, pretty interesting selection so far. But we're still really hoping about the fact that there is actually some characters that didn't make the cut, so far anyway, which appears to be, usually for Hammer Bro, Dry Bones, Diddy Kong, and Pom Pom from the likes of in the Super Mario Party in 2018. So maybe they'll add in more characters later down the road, but then again we'll have to wait and find out, enjoying at some point on September sometime. So, but anyways though, there's also another game they somehow announced, and that's what appears to be a brand new Zelda game. Except this time, we're going into 2D Zelda game ever since in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening Remake. But there's actually a plot twist of that particular announcement trailer in mind, is that I was assuming that was going to be The Legend of Zelda A Link Between Worlds Remaster, or specifically The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past Remake. Well, actually, as it turns out, it is a brand new entry in the series, specifically when it comes to 2D Zelda games. And that's, believe it or not, we're about to be taking control of Zelda this time around, as opposed to Link. So yeah, that's actually quite interesting, especially considering about the fact that, well, technically this wasn't the first time that's ever happened. Oh god, kind of think about it, the first time that's ever happened when it comes to playing as Zelda in a Zelda game, it happens back in Journey forms of some time ago, or specifically a very long time ago, since, oh god, that one of the terrible Zelda games be released on Philips CDI. And there's also technically with the forms of Cadence of Hyrule, which is actually kind of cool, but despite the fact that we still haven't got that game, well, that's just clearly because, what I can gather, I'm not a big fan of rhythm-based games or anything else like that, but that's just me. So, but anyways, the next new Zelda game I was on about earlier, you're able to actually take control of Zelda, and it does have its companion with her. So it's actually pretty cool about the fact that between both Princess Peach and Princess Zelda, definitely deserves a, its own game, which is actually pretty cool, and it happens during around the same year as each other. Like, for instance, we've already got Princess Peach Showtime earlier this year, which appears to be on March, and now we're about to be getting a brand new The Legend of Zelda game, except this time you play as Zelda the whole way through, in a new game called The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So yeah, that's actually a pretty interesting title, because the main gimmick about the game is all about echoes. So yeah, that's actually pretty cool stuff. And as far as I'm aware, the release date for the game is going to be releasing until September, specifically 26th of September in this year in 2024. So much like the forms of how it does it in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake, that obviously though is going to be releasing on September. So you probably get the idea about that. So, and as far as I'm aware, it did somehow confirm there's going to be amiibo functionality for that particular game I was on about earlier. But they haven't exactly shown us the amiibo functionality yet. But hopefully we'll hear more about it as well during at some point, also in September as well. Could be potentially be for the sake of the forms of maybe the final Nintendo Direct for 2024. I'm not exactly 100% sure on that. So, anyways though, so let's move on to the last segment of the forms of this particular level right here, and it looks like we're about to take control of yet another vehicle. And accept the fact that no matter what though, Amy, this section is by far the worst. Not only because of how the fact that the controls are so finicky, but it's also about the fact that if you do mess up, or specifically if you dare die on this particular point, there's no checkpoints. So meaning about the fact that if you've gone for a lot of progressioning so far in terms of this particular part, and obviously though you're about to get hit a lot, by the way, and truth be told about the fact that no matter what though is a good thing about the fact that we still indeed managed able to actually increase our rings counter by 200 as opposed to 100, because obviously though, if we don't do the forms of upgrading our rings amount capacity, obviously though we are about to get a lot of frustration on this section. So because of that though, yeah, there's nothing else I can really say about this particular submarine section. It's just a mess, especially considering for the fact that again it's pretty stingy on checkpoints and stuff like that. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that you have to restart this entire progressioning all over again if you dare messed up. So anyway, and there's also another thing that's worth noting for when it comes to the Legend of Zelda related thing, is that technically speaking of, there's also going to be a yet another edition for the Nintendo Switch Lite that's also going to be coming until September 26th in this year to go alongside with the release of The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and so much so about the fact that the actual next edition for the Nintendo Switch Lite is going to be called Hyrule Edition, which as a result, that particular edition of that particular Nintendo Switch Lite, not only it's covered in gold, but it's also about the fact that these buttons, alongside with the forms of these analog sticks, and even especially noticeable with the actual home button, alongside with the forms of the capture button, as well as the plus and minus buttons, they're all in black. And it's also worth noting for is that I've noticed on the back portion of that particular system, it actually contains a The Legend of Zelda symbol, which is actually pretty cool, especially considering for the fact that obviously though it's going to call it Hyrule Edition for that particular Nintendo Switch Lite. So yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. So Anyway, so I'm basically excited about the forms of The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, so because of that though, just to play as Zelda and everything. So, either way, the next game they did somehow revealed, when it comes to the forms of the most recent Nintendo Direct, and that's what appears to be about the fact that once again, they somehow gonna be bringing ourselves into a yet another installment when it comes to the Just Dance games, except this time what appears to be Just Dance 2025 edition, so... yeah, I've got nothing else to say about it. And as far as I'm aware, the release date for that game is also going to be releasing in October, similar to the forms of how it does it for both Super Mario Party Jamboree, alongside with the forms of Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, except the fact that obviously though we have no idea when exactly is it going to be releasing, but we do know it's going to be available at some point in October in this year, so I've got nothing more to add about that honestly, but it's also going to be released on multiple platforms I'm pretty sure, likely for PlayStation 5, alongside with Xbox Series X or something, but either way though, I have no words to say about it. So, anyway, and the next game they did somehow revealed for that particular Nintendo Direct is kind of an odd one, which appears to be LEGO Horizon Adventures, made by PlayStation Studios of all things. So yeah, that's actually kind of strange. And the next game after that, which appears to be Stray, which appears to be this particular cat-like game or something. And as far as I'm aware, when it comes to both LEGO Horizon Adventures alongside with Stray, they are both going to be releasing at some point in this winter, alongside with the forms of another one as well, which appears to be Tales of the Spare, or Share, I think it's what it says anyway, that's also going to be releasing at some point in this winter. And after that, they've shown us the next game, or specifically the next compilation game, except this time what appears to be by the forms of Ace Eternity. And this time what appears to be by the forms of Ace Eternity Investigations Collection, which I'm not exactly sure what games they somehow included for that particular compilation. Maybe I'll find out more about it until for later down the road, but obviously that particular compilation is going to be releasing until the 6th of September also in this year. So yeah, that's all I can really think about it. And as far as I'm aware, we've only got 3 more games left when it comes to mentioning about the forms of the Nintendo Direct announcement during that particular point. And the next game they somehow mentioned about, that's what appears to be the 100 Last Defense Academy Lane or something. Or specifically, it's hard to tell honestly, because the actual title feels a bit confusing, but regardless of everything else though, it's going to be releasing at some point in early next year in 2025. And the next game after that, which appears to be a remake of any sorts, with the forms of Romancing Saga 2, which appears to be Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven. So, and that's going to be releasing at some point on the 24th of October in this year. And the final announcement they somehow revealed, which appears to be Metroid Prime 4, specifically Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which we'll talk more about that, unfortunately, until specifically on Thursday. So with that being said, folks, is that we got endings of this point right here. So join us next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Is that we're about to be moving on to the next level, which appears to be known as Creeper Gorge. So, and hopefully we get ourselves the next Chaos Crystal. So I'll see you guys then.